So welcome today, everybody. My name's Kirsty Davis and I'm an onboarding specialist at HROnboard. And we have joining us the lovely Emma Bennett from Powerco. So as I mentioned earlier, you may not have heard, we do want to make this feel like it is a meetup. So do pop your camera on if you're game. Oddly enough, the last time HROnboard were seen at a meetup was actually in New Zealand. And we jumped on a plane back to Australia, and the very next day the Grand Prix was cancelled and the border was closed. So I feel like if we had have just stuck around one more day, we would have been lucky enough to spend some more time in New Zealand. So let's get started, everybody. Ooh, wrong one. Look, I'm just going to put my hands up. I'm not the best with the technology today. I've had a few issues with this morning, but let's see how we go. If you want to join the conversation, obviously we have the chat function open if you've got any questions. Or if you want to have some anonymous questions, you don't want to put your name to it, jump on over to Pigeonhole. The login is there, pigeonhole.at, and the enter code HROnboard all in uppercase. So if you've got any questions, we will jump through to those throughout the presentation as they come up. And at the end, we will take you off mute if you want to jump in and have a chat, have some questions right at the end as well. So if you've got your cuppa, got your water, and let's get started. So why onboarding? You know, it's one of those things, you're all here because you're thinking about onboarding, and certainly when we started HROnboard in 2013, onboarding wasn't mainstream, but today this is something that absolutely everybody is talking about. So employee onboarding has been broken, and it's absolutely a key focus, and there's quite a few reasons why it's a key focus, and it's, you know, it's the beginning part of that employee journey, and you know, that first part where you actually get to make an impression of your brand and who you are with your employees. So it's such an important part, and I think you know, the world is and the world is caught up with what we've been thinking. So obviously there's a big part of onboarding which is around the efficiency gains and all of those efficiency wins. And our founder, Pete, he had a great saying that he'd love to tell us, that you have to eat your veg before you can have your dessert. And I think he used to talk about all of the efficiency gains, and that compliance piece is, you know, that's your vegetables, and you can't get to the dessert, which is the fun stuff, which is what HR love, until, you know, you've eaten all of those veggies. So, you know, defining an efficient workflows, obviously HR don't get into HR to do admin. So making those workflows efficient is really important. Improving time to productivity for a new starter. People are going to feel so much more valued if they're performing from day one. You know, everyone wants to be great at what they do. Reduction in errors and manual work. It's really interesting to hear when you know, people are getting paid the wrong pay rates because they've entered something in on a contract, and you know, you're messing with people's money. So it's really important that they're getting we get this right. And you know, a great part of our software or HROnboard is you get that feedback in real time. So employees get to have their say about their experience, and then you get that. We're not the gatekeeper of that feedback. You get that straight to your dashboard, and you can action that and actually go in and make those improvements. And then there's the dessert. So this is what we really love, you know, the employee experience wins, which I don't know that you can absolutely put a dollar value on this, because it goes above and beyond with branding when you think of how people are talking about their relationship with work, and then that brand, that overarching brand as a consumer as well. So, you know, having that great experience and retention of employees, alignment with the company and culture values. Everybody wants to be aligned and feel like there's some purpose in their work. And absolutely, if you're aligned with the company values and knowing what they are as well, and how you can take a part of that. I've always said, you know, there's what you do at work, but then there's how you go about it, and how you go about it is you know, your own personal values, and they really do need to be aligned for those experience wins. early immersion in meaningful work is really important. I do see a lot of onboarding where it's generic and one size fits all, and that's absolutely not how people work. Everyone's in different roles with different backgrounds and understanding. So their role needs to be, the content that they're receiving needs to be meaningful and helpful and for them, and not for, you know, someone that's doing a job that's not even relevant to them. So it's really important that it's meaningful, and that's how you get those highly engaged employees. And once again, HR visibility and feedback is really important. It's paramount that you know what your employees are thinking. So this is us at HROnboard. I will be honest, it is a little bit of an old picture. We haven't been together for quite some time. There's obviously a pandemic. Unfortunately, I haven't grown since the picture. I'm the short one in the middle that people are bobbing down to get to my height. So, you know, but this is HROnboard. We were born out of efficiency gains for HR back office, and we've evolved into this employee experience platform. We are based out of Melbourne, and we are wholly owned by Elmo, the Elmo Group, and ASX listed company. So, you know, we're really proud to be part of that team, so that we can, you know, bring the best of breed into an all-in-one. So, you know, HROnboard, you would be right to think that all we do is onboarding, but we actually go a little bit beyond that onboarding, because we know that experience and there's efficiency gains to be won around contracts and recontracting and those types of things. So we have that job offer, the stuff that you need to do, that pre-onboarding, the job offer, the compliance piece, then the stuff before day one, all of that interactive onboarding. We also have role transitions, which are contract updates, letter updates. In Australia, we had JobKeeper workflows, so really efficiency gains in that compliance piece for employees. And lastly, happy goodbyes. I think we are seeing a lot more boomerang employees, so you want to make sure that you're giving them that great experience on the way out as they had on the way in. And you'd be surprised how many times we hear that people are still with company assets like cars and laptops because they haven't been deprovisioned. So, you know, we try and wrap that all of those workflows up, so that, you know, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So here are some of our amazing customers. And look, I'll be honest, we love our customers, and I think our customers love us a lot as well, which is awesome. There's no one industry, there's no one type that we are suitable for. It really is any organisation that are sending out job offers and doing things manually and want to increase engagement. So there's really no business that wouldn't benefit from HROnboard. It's just the really cool ones that actually find us and are interested in moving forward with us. So we've got some great brands, and our customers are happy to speak to anyone looking at HROnboard. So if there's anyone you want to speak to, reach out and we'll get you in touch. Part of HROnboard being so successful is our ecosystem, and it's one of those things we play friendly with everybody, and that's really important for us because we are, I guess, a best of breed product. We're highly configurable, which, you know, makes us really attractive to a lot of organisations. But without that connection in piece, you know, would be a lot of data loss. So, you know, in an ideal world, you can plug us into your recruitment system, into your payroll system, to your full HRIS. Obviously, being owned by Elmo, we can plug into Elmo and also other systems as well. We have those third-party plugins like webhooks, which means we can push and pull data really well. So essentially what we're trying to do is remove any double data entry, because that is not fun, really. So what are the elements of great onboarding, which is, you know, while we're here, at HROnboard, we say we want to wrap everybody up in a coat. Now, there is a dog here, there is relevance. We all love dogs at HROnboard. We used to have furry Fridays. We now have furry every day now that we're all working at home. But it's all about, you know, that feeling when you see a dog, when you cuddle a dog, that, you know, having that feeling wrapping someone up in a coat and making them feel warm and making them feel a part of the team before they've started. So the acronym code is around the culture, the objectives, the admin, and also the team. So those elements of great onboarding, so there's quite a bit that goes into that. There's the before day one, so there's things that they need to, so when you fit into that category of coach, the culture, objectives, admin and team, before day one, there's quite a few things that need to happen. And there is that pre-onboarding thing. They need to know what to expect on their first day, all of those team comms and those sorts of things. And then there's their first day, which is, you know, that anxious day. Are people going to like me? Am I going to have someone to have lunch with? I feel like it's almost like the first day of school every time when you're starting a new job. So, you know, there's a whole heap of things that we can do to support employees so that there's, to remove some of that day one anxiety. And so there is a lot that you can do there around the culture and also around the team to make people feel welcome. After day one, so with HR on board journeys, the journey actually goes on for 12 months. So, you know, sending prompts for managers to check in, bi-weekly check-ins, probation discussions, and just doing pulse check-ins with employees. How was your first week? How was your first month? How are you feeling? Is this what you expected? And, you know, what's great about HR on board is it gives you the direct line of communication with your employees. So that's, you know, some insights that previously you wouldn't have had at HR. So what are the results? So yes, we know it's great. The onboarding is great. The experience is great for the employees, but what are some of these results? So the full impact of better onboarding, it's not just about those efficiency gains. So obviously 3 days to create, send and have contracts accepted. Some of the businesses we've worked with have gone from 3 or 4 weeks to 3 days, sending out bulk contracts, lots of paperwork, a lot of compliance, and we can have all of that done in three days. So those efficiency gains to speak for themselves. But then there's all the landfill. So, you know, this is the important stuff that we talk about in 2020. We want to make sure that there's a future for our kids and, you know, the environment. So there's trees that are saved. So how many trees are you saving as a business when you're actually sending out those bulk and even just the postage alone, I think that with organisations, if you're posting out packs, the postage alone will probably cover the cost of HR on board. So the full impact, you know, there's a financial impact, there's a time impact, there's an environmental impact, and obviously that employee impact. So here we've got the employee impact. So what's really interesting is 40% of new hires actually accept on a mobile device. I'm really surprised at this stat, and maybe I'm just always on my mobile phone, but I feel like anything other than work is always done on a mobile device these days for myself. And I think so 40% of our people using HR on board feel that same way. So, you know, it's really useful to be able to accept your job offer from your mobile device, take a photo of your compliance documents, of your work rights, you know, working with children's, whatever your requirements are from a compliance perspective, to be able to do that from your mobile device within minutes is, you know, really powerful from an employee. It removes that friction of, you know, having to go to Officeworks and print something out because you don't have a printer in this day and age. One of the other really good stats to call out there is 42 minutes to actually accept their job offer. So when you think about an employee pack that you're sending out or the compliance that needs to be completed from a new hire perspective, there's actually a lot in there. So it's not just accepting your job offer and accepting policies. You've got your Kiwi Saver, you've got your IRD form. You might also have the 30-day rule for joining unions. And then there could be some qualifications requirements for certain roles. Using software like HR on board means that this is done really easily for the candidate, you know, and it is personalised. So not every employee is going to be asked for their qualifications because not every role requires those qualifications. So it is that personalised, tailored approach for each employee, just giving the information that they actually need, and they can do it timely, keeping people in the software that they're used to using, which is, you know, everyone's in their mobile phones these days. So let's keep them there, get them accepting their job offer. Of all people that use HROnboard, or at least all of it are actually providing feedback, 94% of that feedback is actually positive from candidates. And I think that's a really good stat. And I can put my hand on heart and say the majority, we do look at that 6% as an organisation. We have a cold hard look at that and think of how we can do things better. And it's not to do with the platform when it is that that 6%. And that is really valuable feedback that you get in real time. You may have asked for work rights in the recruitment process and then asking for it in onboarding again. So that might lower the feedback score, but it just means that gives you the opportunity to actually go in and make those changes. HROnboard is so easy to use from a back office perspective that if there's something that isn't that is causing some friction or is quite a cumbersome process, you can actually just go in and tweak it yourself, or come to HROnboard and we can do that for you. So that's what's important for the candidates, that new hire engagement, why people love their jobs, why people stick around. It's really important. So if you want to join the conversation, I don't see any questions coming through. Oh, here we go. No, I was wrong. I wasn't looking in the right place. Apologies. How do you personalise the experience for every person when you're so busy with other work already? So part of the actual implementation for HROnboard is when you think about each role has its unique workflow. So it's almost like you do the work once, you map out this workflow once, and then everyone gets that personalized experience. We have unique things like placeholders so that it feels like it is personalized, although it's a digital process. We certainly don't want to take away the human aspect of onboarding. So we send messages from managers, and you can communicate back and forth from managers, but also sending just-in-time content that is personalized to your role, to your position, and also to yourself, to be your name. How would we suggest going from paper to digital? Is there something somewhere where you would recommend starting? HROnboard is a really good place to start, going from paper to digital. And, it's something often people will come to HROnboard and think, okay, I just want to digitize this process. But it's part of what our consultants do is, yes, we will digitize your process for you, but we'll actually help you with best practice. So you'll look at going from paper to digital, but what you'll find is you'll actually go through a complete transformation, because as we're giving you that feedback, you may actually go through and make some tweaks on what you're already doing. So do please keep the questions coming. I am now going to hand over to the lovely Emma Bennett. I'm going to be driving, so it might be a little bit clunky. We have tried to work out if we can do a wink or a nose wiggle when it's time, but we haven't quite got there. So I'm just going to try and use my spidey senses and get this working.
Oh, thank you so much, Kirsty. Well, we've got this. It's fine. Hey, and also just to everyone on the who's dialed in, it's so nice, particularly when a lot of us are working from home, to actually get together as a community. So I'm really going to enjoy today. Thanks, particularly for those who've got the videos on. It's it's nice to see people when we're not used to seeing people. So thank you very much. So we've had the great pleasure at Powerco for working with HROnboard for gosh, must be close to 6 and a bit months now. What Powerco does, we are an electricity and gas distributor. It's one of many in New Zealand, but I think there's a couple things in terms of that type of business that might resonate with a lot of people on the call today. So firstly, we're a regulated business, and whether you're regulated or not, what that means in terms of a company culture, it's very important we do things well. We tend to have a really strong focus on process, making good decisions, but we're certainly almost at the other end of what you might expect from a startup company by contrast, who are very innovative and make change all the time. We're much more kind of measured in our approach. We're also much more of a traditional business, so still very much wedded to pen and paper. very risk adverse. So, there'll be a number of you who work in businesses like that also. And I think we, in terms of our journey to HROnboard, I think we got to a stage where, although our work place is quite traditional, increasingly, as we start to diversify our workforce, we get this increased appetite for much more modern and innovative ways of working. And really had this groundswell of people who are looking to do things differently. And, thinking particularly about as an HR team, we were really considering what's our internal reputation and identity and brand within our business. Are we seen as that very traditional administrative transactional function, or do we actually want to be really innovative problem solvers with slick, efficient HR processes? And of course, the answer is the latter, right? So, I don't know anyone who gets into HR because they love writing letters and contracts and manually preparing offer packs. So we were really keen to do something different as a function. And I have to confess too, there's some beautiful stats early on about the improvement to the employee experience. Our journey to HROnboard, a little bit ashamed to say this, we actually weren't thinking too much about the employee experience initially, which sounds awful. But what I mean, it was a secondary consideration. So, we certainly had an inkling that, perhaps our new candidate experience could be better. But our initial thinking was very much from the view of, as an HR team, work is not that fun for us. We're spending a lot of time doing manual, administrative, transactional processes that for us felt really low value. And it meant we weren't using our skills and experience and getting to play in the spaces that we really want to play, and the reasons why many of you would have got into HR or the roles you're in, which is about creating a difference and giving people opportunities to be at their best and stretch and grow. And because we were so tied up in admin, we weren't able to do that stuff. So we knew we had a problem, two problems, right? So very much our internal experience. And we knew there was this secondary issue with candidate experience going on. And it just so happened, two of our team who are on the call today, so lovely to have them here, went to a RemNet conference, a type of HR conference in New Zealand, and they saw a presentation from Vodafone. And Vodafone, so most people on the call will be familiar with, they've got a great reputation in New Zealand, big, innovative, quite leading edge with what they do. They came back from this conference and they were buzzing. And they were so pumped, sharing, oh my gosh, the Vodafone experience of them being able to do A, B, C, and D and design out the inefficient and do this really cool stuff. And, every now and then I think you have a conversation with someone and, there's just something about following your intuition and going, they're onto something here, right? We've got to find out more. So we made contact with HROnboard, and this is right at the very start of the year, and like the most fortuitous start of this relationship, two people to a conference about remuneration, and what came out of it is this experience we're having with HROnboard, which is changing the way we work as an HR function, and it's giving our candidates, our new starters, the most amazing experience, and we'll certainly share a little bit more about that later. One of the challenges many of you will have if you're contemplating looking at digitizing your onboarding process is that age-old question about how are we going to pay for this? And gosh, look, we really had to think about how we were going to pitch to get funds. And I am a bit of a believer that actually we always try and work within our budget. So the question I asked the team was, well, if we want this, and I certainly wanted it, what are we prepared to give up? So the brief is it had to be budget neutral. And I think for me that belief comes from, if you're going to your CFO or whoever holds the purse strings when you need more money than the budget you hold, and they're always interested in return on investment. And this is just one of those areas, it's really hard to articulate the return on investment, even though you know it's the right thing to do. Because, you know, if you think about from a business's perspective, and particularly in terms of a bit of a bean counter, people are still joining, they're still getting their contracts processed, you know, they're still able to start. Where's the money on that? But because we knew it was the right thing to do, we went, right, let's look at our HR budget and went, you know what, we think if we pull some money out of our contractor spend, we think about all the contractors we get in, whether it's for leadership development courses or, you know, manager away days, whatever that is, we think if we pull money away from that spend and put it into HROnboard, it means in time, it'll free our time up so we can go and do all the fun stuff that we're getting contractors in to do. So that's effectively how we were able, you know, to make this happen from a funding perspective, and so glad we did. So I think, you know, having sourced the funding, we knew it was the right thing to do. I'm going to do my Tabitha wiggle for the next slide. Thanks, Kirsty. So this is, I guess, so where we're at now is we went live with the onboarding module of HROnboard in, I think it was the first or second week of lockdown, level 4 lockdown in New Zealand. So, you know, couldn't have been better timing actually to go, we're going to have to figure out how to work digitally. And there were, I guess, 2 areas that as an HR function have really changed the way we work. So the first of those is the job offer. So previously, you know, what we'd send out in an offer pack would be an IEA, there'd be a bunch of information about insurances and benefits, there'd be bank details, there'd be diversity and inclusion data capture, there were KiwiSaver forms. And so this pack would go out to new starters, and look, invariably they would return it 2 to 3 weeks later. If there were some forms missing, it meant payroll weren't in a position to process it. And I mean, I don't know if many of you on this call have had the experience, but look, I have had a number of conversations through my HR career where I have to say to a new starter, sorry, you're actually not going to get paid in the next pay run because we weren't able to process your contract in time. Not only do I find that like one of the most embarrassing conversations to have, that's an awful experience for a new starter. And you think going from one company to another, sometimes you're moving between timing of pay or weekly to fortnightly to monthly. I mean, it's one of those fundamentals, right? You can't muck around with people's cash. So that, you know, that experience we don't have anymore, which is lovely. You can see some of the screenshots there, which are actually, that's what a new employee sees on their phone as part of their offer experience. And I think earlier, Kirsty, you had a slide up about a 3-day turnaround. We've managed to do one in less than 24 hours, which has been amazing. And the other thing that avoids as an HR function is, again, many of you might have had this experience of ringing a candidate going, hey, really looking forward to having you join the team. Can I just check where you're up to? Is this back? Is this back? All right, cool. And then you go and have a conversation with the hiring manager and go, right, so we're not quite ready to, you know, put their details for the payroll. We're missing A, B, C in documents. And you end up creating this industry of HR people running around making phone calls to find out where documents are. And I just think our profession is worth more than that. And again, the system for us has designed that out. And again, some great examples on the screen, particularly with some pre-employment checks, criminal convictions, drug and alcohol. That is all automated notifications. We can jump into the system at any time and see where things are up to. So we're not making those phone calls about, hey, can you tell us where we're up to in the process? So the job offer experience is just so efficient. So that's been one of the huge benefits for us as an HR team. That second area is, of course, for the candidate. And again, these are actual screenshots of what a candidate sees when they're onboarding with Powerco. And it's got our branding and imagery. It helps get them ready for that first day. this is completely different to how we used to do it when the offer pack would go out. And, you know, if we were really lucky, we'd have a manager who would call someone the day before to say, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. You know, I'm a recent starter to Powerco myself, and you know, many of you would have had the experience of changing roles in recent times. And I think when you're about to go into a new company, you are so super hungry for information. You want to know that company purpose, their vision, their values, what's it about? You know, what am I supposed to do on the first day? And the beauty of HROnboard is it drips feeds all this information through to a candidate. So it means by the time you arrive at day one, you know where to go, who's going to meet you, what to wear. You've had a personalized note from your hiring manager say, hey, we're really looking forward to have you on board. There's coffees booked with the team on the first day. And in terms of that question about personalization, HROnboard has the functionality that you set up all of those before first day, and the experiences after in a way that reflects your company culture and the way you like to work. So it's this wonderful combination of having this really great almost menu of options that HROnboard brings, and then you just pick from the menu what suits you and your company. And yeah, so you can see the power of the imagery and the branding. Gosh, there's always something about those awful video shots stopped halfway through. But anyhow, so one of the things we also do is we ask all of our hiring managers to record a really short video of themselves. So this is one I've done recently for someone we've hired into the team. And, you know, there's nothing like the authenticity of grabbing your mobile, filming a selfie video that, you know, goes, hi, you know, name of whoever's coming, a personalized message. And you think about what that does for someone who's about to join, you know, what that says to them is this company values me, they value employees. My manager has taken time to record a message just for me. I just think that's the loveliest way to start off an employment relationship with someone. And just the other thing I'd mention there, if you look at that last screenshot and wonder, what is Heidi Klum doing on your screen? As part of that personalization process, not only do you get to, so you've got some starting text, again, great suggestions from HROnboard, you personalize that messaging so the language reflects the type of culture and management style. But you also can do that with images. So, you know, we've put a whole bunch of you know, hilarious images about Heidi Klum as an America's Got Talent judge, going, good job, you've done your first week, because that for us is conveying something about the culture we want our new people to know, which is, yes, we're professional, yes, we have a job to do, but actually having a bit of fun and humor in work is really important. And so we've used all the personalization and all the customizing we can do on HROnboard to really explain that in terms of our culture to people, which is really cool. Tabitha, cool, nice. The impact of our onboarding is already so significant. And again, I'd kind of return to our initial driver was really about changing the way we work as an HR team, our function, our identity. You know, what do people say about us? And also, what do we say, you know, when people ask, you know, you're at a barbecue, tell me about what you do. I'm an HR. And they go, oh, you hire and fire. And it was about going, no, we do so much more than that. We provide a great experience to all of our employees from the day they join, from the day, you know, the day they leave, that whole life cycle. So we knew there were some gains to make. And I think intuitively, most of you on the call will know, actually, we probably could do a little bit better with that new employee experience. But there's nothing like seeing the feedback. So actual quotes on your screen about some of the feedback we've been getting from new starters. And it never really dawned on me how impactful onboarding could be till I saw this feedback. So previously what we'd done with new starters is sent them a survey and ask them to kind of rank or rate their onboarding experience. And so if it's out of 5, it's typically like a 4, you know, 4.2, 4.3. And at the time we were like, oh, that's a really good score. But actually, what we didn't take into account, which we do now, having received this kind of feedback, is when you've got people new to an organisation and you ask them a question about how was your onboarding experience, most people are still in that really polite phase. So they're going, yep, it was great. And actually, now having seen this type of feedback, the ratings we're now getting, you know, consistently fives, this has really brought home to me that what I previously thought was okay was so far off the mark of what is possible. And, you know, having this onboarding process and that it's so personalized and so simple for us to work with, I just can't imagine, you know, going back to how we used to work, having seen how wonderful this new tech is, and, you know, it's really changing the way we work and our reputation as a team, which is really cool. So what I was really keen to share for those of you who are maybe thinking about HR on board is there's 4 HR hacks that we have found really useful. So keen to share some of that inside knowledge with you. So the first is conditional formatting. So there was a question earlier about, well, how do you personalize the process? And it's all in the conditional formatting. So effectively what you do at the start of a process, and it's, you know, it's all about how you design it and set it out, is there's a bunch of questions you think about with your contracts and the onboarding experience. So it could be, what office is someone working for? Are they permanent versus fixed term versus casual? You know, how many hours are they doing a week? Who's their manager going to be? And then what you could do is set up some conditions that run off the answer to the questions. And so what that means with that initial thinking up front, every contract we generate is perfect. It is tailored to the person, it is tailored to the role, and then that onboarding experience is tailored. So as an example, by saying, hey, right, we're going to start someone in our Tauranga office, then what happens on that first day is the amazing tech at HR on board jumps in to Google Maps and shows them this is the driving route from where you live to your office. These are the cafes that are nearby that have the highest ranking. You know, that's the kind of personal experience you can drive just from conditional formatting, which is amazing. The second hack is all about integrations. So HR on board as a system as tech is amazing, but gee, you can take it to the next level if you can integrate it with your recruitment software, your ATS, with your payroll systems. It just means you've got information flowing between all the systems that you work with as an HR function. And again, it's removing that administrative, repetitive work. It removes chance for error. That has been such a lifesaver. And as also we've learned more about the importance of integrations as we go and select more cloud-based tech to use for different parts of our HR process. We are always checking that each system integrates with the next, because again, you just want information to flow. So hack number 2. Hack number 3 is notifications. So what HR on board enables you to do is, so for example, when we get a contract back for someone, we've then preloaded a bunch of notifications. So we will send, as soon as that contract's back, a text to our facilities manager saying such and such is starting in this office on this date. Can you provision their desk, chair, and anything they need, you know, based in that location? Then we'll get a notification that will go off to an external, maybe some of it, like our external insurance companies. So we provide free healthcare to our employees. And again, we're saying, hey, insurance company, such and such is starting on this date. Can you get in contact with them and set up their insurance? And it means, again, there is no running around, nothing falls through the cracks. And this, you know, the new candidate, when they arrive on day one, got a desk, they've got a chair, they've got a computer, they've got a mobile phone. Those basics matter. They've got an email address, a login, and if any of you have ever had an experience of onboarding someone and at the, you know, on the Friday, you're like, oh my God, I'm still so sorry. We can't log you on. You can't do any printing. Yeah, we'll sort out a computer for you next week. that's embarrassing. And we can do better, and HROnboard enables you to do better. It's amazing. The fourth hack, which we're still in really, I guess, early thinking of, but gosh, we see its potential. We went with HROnboard for that onboarding experience, and the more we work with it, we're like, you know what? This technology has got the potential to be used in a number of different areas for HR. So if you think about any time you've got actions to be completed, particularly if they're time-bound, particularly if they need people's cooperation, the technology and architecture behind HROnboard can work for those. So as some examples, we're in the process of designing parental leave journeys. So from the time someone applies for parental leave, what's the information they need to go back? Let's get a notification to their manager on this date. They've got a week to go. Have you organised the farewell function? When someone's on parental leave, we pre-plan notifications for what we call keeping in touch days. And it just means nothing falls through the gap, which is amazing. We're doing the same for new manager programs. So a new manager starts, right? How do we onboard that manager? And it's this very personalized experience. So we're not waiting for, 12 new managers to start and then we'll put them through a program together. We're going to onboard you for day dot. It does have the most amazing potential. So that's certainly something to think about, whilst it might initially be really interesting, that you'll consider it to help your onboarding. I'd really encourage you to think broadly, because we certainly think it's got, really wide application. Cool. So that's, I've talked a lot. I apologise, but many of us in HR are prone to doing that. And really, really keen to kind of take questions and have a chat.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you. If you want to jump over and have a test drive of HROnboard, jump onto HROnboard.me /try. But what we're going to do now is stick around for some Q&A. So I'm actually going to not share the screen anymore so I can see your beautiful faces, if you're showing your faces, that is. There we go. Okay, just a few of us, but still you all look beautiful. So I do have some questions here. So what I will do is I'll just, I'm pretty sure most of them are for you, Emma. So I will ask some questions. If you've got any further questions and you don't have access to the pigeonhole, if you didn't get it in, just jump onto the chat. I'll field those questions as well. So the first question, I'm just going to go from newest to oldest because that's my list. Sorry. Do the hiring managers get involved within the new hire tasks, and like what prompts to do? What are you getting them to do?
They sure do. And again, it's all about how you set it up. So we have a number of notifications that are time bound. So, from the time the offer is accepted, we send a notification to the hiring manager saying, hey, the offer's been accepted. It would be great if you could send the new starter a note saying you're really excited to have them join the team. And then we send them, as part of that notification, a pre-populated template. So they can just go in and, if nothing else, they can press send, but they can also put in some of their own wording and make that message really personal. We ask them to do the same, again, all automated through the system, normally a week before someone starts, and then typically the day before. So, if someone's starting on a Monday, they'll get a text on the Sunday from their hiring manager. And again, that hiring manager can be as lazy as going send, which is fine, or else they can really put their own spin on that. So yeah, that full functionality is there.
What's the biggest return on investment you've seen with this, Emma?
I'd put it in two areas. I think firstly, it's, as an HR function, we're really starting to appreciate what we could do. So I think, you can get so tied up in the administration, the transactional, the burden of that, that now that we've had that lifted, to start dabbling in other areas is that we're starting to go, actually, we could have this incredibly powerful impact on the organisation that previously just wasn't even possible. We weren't in a headspace or with that thinking space to consider doing that. So I think that's been great for how we feel about ourselves. And, HR is a function that can be quite hit and miss or quite variable between organisations. So look, if you're really looking to get into business partnership, strategic work, value add, I think this is just an incredibly useful tool. The second place I see the return on the investment is what our managers who we support, what they're saying about us and their experience. So, for a manager to go, wow, I raised a contract and it's signed and back within 12 hours. And oh my gosh, this onboarding experience, it's all laid out. I get how it works. It's freeing up their thinking space, and just to know, trust the notifications, trust the process, and we'll end up with very happy candidates on day one. So there's a lot of happy people here.
Excellent. Now that you have your HR admin helping, what is HR spending time on now?
Oh gosh, the stuff we always should have been spending time on, career transition discussions, leadership development programs, looking at long-term forecasting of headcount and budget. Those things that an HR function, you Google strategic HR, it's that stuff, it's people analytics. That's what we can do now.
Yeah, awesome. What other tech do you use, Emma? What ATS and what payroll, and do they all connect?
Of course they connect. They do now. So for our ATS, we use LiveHire, which was one of the options that was shown in the earlier slide. I think it's about picking an ATS that works for you, but integration, particularly between your recruitment, your ATS system and your onboarding is really key. A lot of the recruitment software does have the option in it to do contract generation. So LiveHire, as an example, has that. But we made a very deliberate decision to do the job offer in HROnboard rather than LiveHire, because one of the things we're learning as we go, down the cloud-based route is a lot of tech is sold to you as being it's fully customizable. And what I'd encourage you all to do is ask a follow-up question to that, which is who can customize it? So what we love about HROnboard is that we can go in and customize it. Whereas what we find with a lot of other tech providers who claim fully customizable is only they can do it. If they do that for free, that's lovely, but it still slows everything down while you wait for them to do it, and some will charge you for it. HROnboard does none of that. So yeah, we tried to get as much as we could in the HROnboard system.
Yeah, awesome. We do have, how did you build your business case?
Yeah, and I think it was about looking at the budget we have and, we own as an HR function, and what were we prepared to give up so that we could get some really good HR tech to support the way we wanted to work. We didn't have to have the conversation about going to the CFO and say we would like more money. I don't know how that would have gone. So we wanted to make this something we could control. So we gave up in other areas so we could do this. And one of the best decisions we made for two reasons. One, it meant we got, first we got this tech in. But it also meant, because what we gave up is the funding to bring in, external experts to provide leadership coaching and very specialised training. As an HR team, we went, we've got to step up and do this. And we did. So that was great for us as well.
Awesome. There's a question that I think I might answer, because I'm not sure many of us will know the answer to this one, is how is it different to the Elmo onboarding module we have? That's a really tricky question for me to answer, because I know HROnboard like the back of my hand, and I don't know the Elmo module as well. From what I've seen, their module is, you know, absolutely a great onboarding tool as well. I think the key differences that stand out to me is about the journey, and that our onboarding journey doesn't finish when they've completed all their contracts, and that you can actually send out content for up to 12 months of that journey. And it's all mobile first, but I think they're both great tools, and it's really based around what configuration do you need, and how much depth and detail do you need to go into each workflow. HROnboard go really deep into their configuration. So if you can think of a scenario, we can build some logic around it to make it work. So I think they're probably the key differences that I know, but I think that the best way is to do the analysis yourself, because I'm not an expert on their onboarding, but it is a great tool that connects into the full powerful platform, which is, you know, obviously ideal for some organizations. Is the webinar going to be recorded? Absolutely, it will. So you can watch me over and over again, people. You know, I know that's what we'll all be doing on Saturday night. Did you experience any resistance from managers when you rolled out HROnboard?
No, sorry, my hesitation is going, did we? We were very deliberate with HROnboard, mindful this was in the middle of level 4 lockdown, of not going, ta-da, change, new systems. So we deliberately went, you know what, HROnboard only has an impact on each manager as they're hiring a new staff member. So what we'll do is much more of a one-on-one process rather than big organizational change. And, you know, as we hired new people, we talked to the managers about, you know, how the experience would be different, how much time and effort it's going to save for them. And we're also quite deliberate early that we did a lot more of the kind of setting up the journeys ourselves. So HROnboard absolutely has the functionality that you can put a lot more of that work on the manager. I think that's something you'd probably look to do in time, not because it's particularly tough, but just in terms of managing change. Initially, it's actually all we want you to do initially, manager, is just approve this contract electronically rather than me give you a hard copy and sign and it does the rounds. So that's a really easy sell. And I think, you know, that really good change is about getting them to agree to a little bit, and then they do a little bit more and a little bit more. And before you know it, we've got managers now, so who will do variations in the system. They'll, you know, personalize their journeys. But I think you just don't want to put all of it on their lap at once. It's too much. So little incremental change is how we approached it.
Yeah, awesome. This is going to be a really awkward one for you to answer with us in the room, so I might block my ears while you answer this one. But what are the HROnboard team like to work with, and are they still supporting you now you're considered an existing customer?
Oh, they're amazing. They genuinely are. And like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't really believe how fantastic they are and encourage other people to do it. So, you know, this is not a paid gig for me, right? This is genuinely because I love their product. I see how much it's changed the way we work, the reputation we have as a function, and just wish that for every HR team, that's the experience you have, that's the value you bring. We've worked with a number of software providers, you know, with cloud-based tech this year, as we've looked to, you know, roll out solutions for different parts of the HR process. Without a doubt, this is the best team to work with. Everyone is knowledgeable, they're lovely, they're responsive. It is such a pleasure. I really can't recommend them highly enough.
And just confirm we're not paying Emma.
No, you're not paying me.
Thank you for your lovely, kind words.
No, but you've really been amazing. So, you know, thank you.
All the feels. What's the feedback that you're getting from the new hires about the onboarding experience?
They love it. So you saw a few quotes earlier about it's almost this really surprised tone that comes through. Like, this is so slick. This was amazing. This is the best onboarding experience I've ever had. And I think that surprise tone comes from, because people have just never really considered the impact. Actually, well, I know people have considered, but not really considered the impact having the most amazing, slick and efficient onboarding experience has. The turnaround of the contract, I think, is such a good first impression. And then they get into this onboarding journey, and it's personalized based on where they live and where they work and what their interests are. Like, it's so cool. So no, they're happy. They're really good.
Awesome. So the videos, do you get videographers or marketers to help you?
No, we, like many of you on the call, you have got to use a lot of intuition and just figure stuff out for yourself. So good old Google image search, of course, making sure there's no copyright images. So, but yeah, it's just a case of literally uploading images, whether it's GIFs, memes. The tech is so easy to work with. And so, what you saw in some of those earlier slides looks super professional. It couldn't be easier to put together.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. If you want to take yourself off mute now and you want to ask some questions, please do so. I don't know how to unmute everyone, so I can't do that. So if you've got any questions, please jump in and ask any questions. Or not. That's okay as well. We've had a lot of questions come through, so thank you so much for your time. What I'm actually going to do is just share the last screen for you again, just in case you do want to jump on to HROnboard.me/try and give it a try yourself. You will be blown away. So yeah, thank you for your time today, everybody. Emma, thank you so much, obviously, for your lovely, kind words. They were amazing. But yeah, you've been very generous with your time, and thank you so much for sharing this experience, because I think, HR, it's the great thing about HR is everybody shares. It's not a competitive space, and we learn from each other. So thank you for sharing your onboarding story. If you've got any questions, I think we're going to be sending this recording out after. Email us, jump on the phone. We're always open to talk. But thank you.